Joining us
Thank you so
now,
much.
Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. Steve is among the 25 states that are suing the White House. Okay, so Steve, here's the story, and thanks for joining us tonight. Democrats in the White House, the Democrats in the White House, they have not had enough of record climate spending. Now they're coming for our retirement accounts. Can you tell us what's going on and here and why you and the 25 states are suing the White House?
Yeah, this is to stand up for the American worker. We've seen with a new rule issued by the Department of Labor that they are prioritizing woke ESG investing over the retirement assets of hardworking Americans. And let's put this in perspective. We're talking about $12 trillion for over 152 million working Americans. They're placing that at risk to be able to impose a radical climate agenda that this administration can't pass through Congress, nor can they allow for states to be able to engage in similar behavior, but they're using the Department of Labor to be able to do that in a way that is inconsistent with what Congress wanted, and me and my colleagues are going to make sure that we stop it in its tracks.
Well, what can people do? You know, how do they figure it out if, like, their pension money is being misinvested in things that they don't want it to be invested in? I mean, you know, by the way, it was President Obama who added the most to the nation's debt. So they're blowing out the debt, and now they're going after retirement accounts. How can people, what can they do on their own about this?
Well, if they allow this rule to go into effect, this gives a safe harbor to investment managers to engage in speculative investing of these precious accounts. And it's one of the reasons why, you know, it's a privilege to be able to lead the Republican attorneys general when we have 25 states coming together to be able to stand up for the American worker. This, again, is just another example of this administration using every tool that it believes it has to invoke this radical climate agenda. It's not good for the American worker. It's not good for their assets. And frankly, it's not good for the return of these fiduciary plans, which when you look at the studies, ESG investing doesn't prove to be a valuable return for anybody's investment dollars.
So this sounds like a violation of ERISA. I mean, this Labor Department new rule, it takes effect January 30th. Walk us through next Monday what happens to the retirement funds of 152 million workers, 12 trillion in assets. What would these fiduciaries start to do? What would people start to see?
Well, what we'll see, these fiduciaries who can't be accountable to these workers when they engage in these speculative investments. But what we're excited about is the fact that by filing this lawsuit, we have the ability to enjoin this rule in its tracks, to be able to make sure that we allow for pecuniary interests to predominate in investment decisions, and that we don't allow woke agendas to be in place and when considering how to invest our hardworking dollars of our American workers.
So you're talking to companies like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. They collectively manage trillions of dollars in assets. They've taken the lead roles in this climate change and ESG movement. So they could start moving retirement money towards speculative climate change investments. Is that the idea?
It is. And in fact, one of the things you've seen also is that me and my colleagues are involved in various areas trying to be able to push back against this agenda. Most recently in being able to intervene in a case involving Vanguard where they're trying to take over more energy assets. This is not a singular effort by this administration, but rather a coordinated attack on many of the interests of American workers and the value of the return that they get for their investment plans. I'm proud of our colleagues coming together to be able to fight this.
So, Steve, how dangerous is this?
Oh, it's incredibly dangerous because, again, we're talking about $12 trillion being at risk for hundreds of millions of Americans out there that have used their hard-earned dollars to be able to invest for their future. We're risking the future of the American worker. So
it means that we've got to pay attention more to what they're doing. Right? Because sometimes people just put it on autopilot. Sometimes, you know, they treat looking at their 401k accounts like looking at the weight scale in the bathroom. So now it means that they have to do more vigilant work of what's going on. Right, Steve?
They do, and we would expect our asset managers to be fiduciaries of this money, to be able to consider solely the financial return for the individual dollars of American workers. If this rule is allowed to go into effect, it will insulate those asset managers from those considerations and allow them to be able to impose this radical climate agenda.
Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.